Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I, G. Padmavati, Associate Professor of T. Krishna Reddy Engineering College, extend a warm welcome to each one of you present here for this orientation session on national education policy, which emphasizes on innovation and entrepreneurship. It is conducted by our college IIC, that is Institutions Innovation Council. A special word of welcome to our honorable dignitary, Dr. Abhay Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Pratap University, Dr.
Madam,
K.V.
one
Murli
minute,
Mohan,
madam.
Principal,
Sarangan sir, please record the session.
Dr. K.M.V. Madan Kumar, Vice Principal and Dean, all the HODs, IIC Advisory Committee members, IIC members, staff and students. As you all know, today we are all set to attend and acquire the knowledge on NEP by Dr. Akshay Kumar, Abhay Kumar.
Yeah.
The objective of this program is to focus on the introduction to the national education policy, how the policy reaffirms promoting to the learning outcomes in education, how it benefits students to learn and excel in all circumstances, and how it helps into emerging as an entrepreneur. With this welcome address, now I take immense delight and honor in inviting our honorable resource person, Dr. Abhay Kumar, to start his orientation program.
Okay.
Professor Abhay Kumar is presently working as Vice Chancellor for Pratap University, Rajasthan. Sir had acquired his PhD degree from the Department of Business Management, GNB, Garham University, Srinagar. Sir has a total work experience of more than 39 years. He has been as an entrepreneur for 3 years and worked in the industry for over 16 years as a senior manager personnel. He has been supervising PhD, MPhil, and MBA students in their research work and projects. He has also been the principal investigator of government sponsored projects during his career. Sir has organized and chaired several national and international conferences, seminars, workshops, symposiums, and colloquiums. And Sir has also been the keynote speaker, chief guest at a number of conferences and seminars. Professor Abhay Kumar has been instrumental in the organization of various FDPs and MPDs also. He is a member of numerous bodies related to higher education and is on the Board of Management Advisory Board as well as member BOS and RDC of a good number of institutes and universities. He is also on the advisory board of many corporate organizations and NGOs. To his credit, I want to quote some of his achievements. Sir was nominated as WA's ambassador, that is the higher education for 15th World Education Summit, Mumbai, which was organized by ELTS Technomedia Private Limited. Sir was also the member advisory board of Lexicon Management Institute. Sir is awarded outstanding contribution by VC to education sector by Ashocham. Sir is a member core advisory committee and is also the jury member of MD Research and Education Services. To his credit, he is awarded as the Outstanding Scholar Award for contribution to education and research. Sir has actively promoted institutional branding during his career and has been instrumental in successfully introducing the concept of mentorship at various institutional levels in the past. He has vast experience in training, motivating and counseling the student fraternity and faculty members. I'm very delighted, sir. In fact, all the members here are delighted to have you as a resource person whose expertise is really praiseworthy, sir. Hearty welcome once again. And I request you to start the session, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Padmavati.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
It is a privilege to be here on this platform today. Thanks to Tigala Krishna Reddy Engineering College, Hyderabad. Thanks to Dr. Murli Mohan, the principal, Dr. Padmaja, who were kind enough to invite me here today and give me the opportunity to speak to such a august gathering of students and faculty members and other dignitaries. So we are talking about the national education policy uh, with special reference to innovation and entrepreneurship. Now let's start with some of the basic tenets of national education policy. But before this, I would request Padmavati Madam or Dr. Padmaja to please give me a thumbs up when my time finishes, so that I may not overstep my timings.
Yeah,
Uh,
surely, sir. We are
yeah,
here to,
thank you.
yeah,
Just a small thumbs up like this, so that I will know. Being a teacher, we are used to talk much more.
yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, sir.
So let's start with NEP 2020. Now, it is indeed historic, in my opinion, for the country to get a new education policy after 34 years of gap. Now, the new policy aims to pave way for transformational reforms, both in school as well as higher education systems in the country. It has provisions to ensure universal access to the school education at all levels. We'll initially start with school education because school education gives inputs to higher education. Now, from preschool to the secondary level, universal access is to be provided by NEP 2020. These provisions include infrastructure support, innovative education centers. Why? To bring the dropouts back into the mainstream, tracking of students and their learning levels, also facilitating multiple pathways to learning. Now, this would involve both formal and informal education modes and the association of counselors or well-trained social workers with the school itself. We all know that the 10 plus 2 structure has now been replaced by the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 curricular structure, corresponding to the age groups between 3 to 8, then 8 to 11, 11 to 14, and 14 to 18 years respectively. Why? This will bring the uncovered age group of 3 to 6 years under school curriculum. Now, this has been recognized globally as the crucial stage of the development of all mental faculties of any child, 3 to 6 years. The new system will have 12 years of schooling with 3 years of Anganwadi or preschooling. The school curricula and pedagogy will aim for holistic development of learners by equipping them with, say, key 21st century skills in the curriculum itself. And the curricular content would also be reduced to some extent. This would be to promote and enhance essential learning and critical thinking and greater focus on experiential learning. Students would have the increased flexibility of subject choice also. So there is no rigid separation between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic systems. Vocational education would start in the school itself. And what is going to happen is that the education policy would now advocate for mother tongue or local or regional language as the medium of instruction, at least till grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and even beyond. No language is to be imposed on any student. Sanskrit would also be offered at all levels of the school and higher education. Why? As an option for students, including the three language formula which is to be there. Several foreign languages will also be offered at the secondary level. Now, according to the government, the policy hopes to shift from summative assessment to a more competency-based regular and continuous assessment with test analysis, critical thinking, conceptual clarity, all these are to be included. Now, all students will take the examination in grades 3, 5 and 8. Board examinations of grade say 10 and 12 will be continued but redesigned with an aim of holistic development of the students. A new national assessment center which is PARAK, that is performance assessment review and analysis of knowledge for holistic development, will be set up as a standard setting body. Now this is all about the school education I would love to talk about right now. Let's move to higher education. But before that I would like to give you a small statistics. Right now, there are more than 15 lakh schools in India, more than 1,000 universities, about 40,000 colleges and institutes, 14 lakh faculty members in the higher educational institutions. Let's understand the enormity of the situation. When the new national education policy has given its principles, we will come to the implementation part of it. We must understand the enormity of the situation and try to find out
Okay, sir.
as to how this will go forward. But
I
before that,
request
let's understand
all
about
students
and the
Utilize the opportunity.
which which is for higher education. Now, NEP 2020 aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, including vocational education, from 26.3%, which was in 2018, to about 50% by 2035. That means more students would be brought into the higher education system by 2035. This policy introduces a broad-based, multidisciplinary, holistic undergraduate education with flexible curricula, say creative combinations of subjects, integration of vocational education, and multiple entry and exit points. This is a very important aspect with appropriate certification at top. Means undergrad education can be of 3 to 4 years with multiple exit options and appropriate certification within that period. We have seen in the past that many students have left maybe the first year of undergraduate course because because of lack of money, some problems in the family, or because they want to go in for industry, for a job in meantime. Well, what happens is they lose all the money they have invested in the colleges or the institutions. It is not going to happen now. Even after having their first year done, completed their first year, if they go out of the system, they can come back after a year or two and do the second year. Similarly, for the third year, where they get an undergraduate degree, and the fourth year, where they get an undergraduate degree with a research degree. Now, this new education policy say speaks about the formation of a national research foundation, which would be created as an apex body for fostering a strong research culture. Well, it is very sad to say that in India we are lacking in research. We are way behind some of the countries like the United States or even China. China is ranking first in terms of patent and research in the world as of now. So we have not to limit our research to the libraries. The most important fact is that adding a DR in front of the name should not be the objective. This national education policy helps us to translate this research into actual life of the citizens. That means it must go to the industry where services or products must come out of this research. Now, there are so many other things which we can talk about, but let's now understand the basic fundamental principles of the national education policy is to identify and foster the unique capability of each student. How? By promoting creativity and critical thinking, to encourage logical decision making, and by promoting, say, innovation. That is what we are going to harp upon. Innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship. Well, NEP 2020 also facilitates an extensive use of technology in teaching. We have seen, especially during the COVID-19 period, that technology has visibly disrupted the entire education system. Many organizations which say did not have proper platforms for online teaching of the students, we ourselves had to initially go on for uploading, say, course material on the internet, on the website, on WhatsApp groups, by emails. There are so many systems. But what happened later on was what, in my opinion, would have been achieved in the next 5 to 10 years. Our teachers and our students have come together to achieve in not more than 45 days' time. This is what has happened in the past few months, which I have envisaged myself being the Vice Chancellor of University Jaipur, Rajasthan. Now, NEP also facilitates extensive use of technology in teaching and learning. It removes all language barriers, and educational planning and management is to be there. Now, how does it focus on innovation and creativity? What are the ways in which NEP has been focusing on innovation and creativity? Let me start with some salient points. The first is, as I said, a national repository of high quality resources on foundational literacy and numeracy will be made available. Now, digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing, that is Diksha, technological interventions to serve as aids to teachers and to help bridge any language barrier that exists between teachers and students will be piloted and implemented. This is what NEP thinks about doing, and this is the way in which innovation and creativity has to be fostered. Now, with the help of technology and innovation, open and distance learning, that is ODL programs offered by the National Institute of, say, Open Schooling NIOS and state open schools will be expanded and strengthened for meeting the learning needs of young minds of India who are not able to attend a physical school. Now, let me just quote another statistics that the average age of India at present is approximately 27 years. Just think, we have the largest number of young minds in the world. Now, it is upon us whether we can leverage this demographic dividend or not going to prove worthy to us. It is upon us now. All the stakeholders, whether we are teachers, students, the government, the industry, everyone has to come together. Now, to promote multilingualism, the teaching of all languages will be enhanced through innovative and experiential methods, including gamification. This is what everybody talks about. When you read the entire, say, probably is more than about 60 pages, 62 or 69 pages. So we'll come to understand the basic exact tenets it proposes and purports. So by weaving in cultural aspects of the languages such as films, theatre, storytelling, poetry and music, some of our teachers have already been using it in the classrooms. Gamification is something which is important in the classroom as of now. Now, high-performing Indian universities, for example, will be encouraged to set up campuses in other countries. And similarly, selected universities that is from among the top 100 in the world will be facilitated to operate in India. Now, I've been talking to some of the very distinguished vice chancellors and directors and deans of various colleges. Some are very apprehensive when we hear that foreign universities are going to come. I don't think so. My personal viewpoint is that when competition starts, we tend to improve our quality. We tend to improve our quality, we tend to work harder, and the competition becomes more healthy when we move out of the comfort zone sometimes in which we sometimes feel ourselves to be restricted to. Now, for the professions involving artificial intelligence, because I think this is an engineering college especially, so when we talk about big data, artificial intelligence, when we talk about cyber security, it will be very important to be well versed with mathematics and mathematical thinking. Therefore, mathematics and computational thinking will be given increased emphasis to the years, as well as starting with the foundational stage through a wide variety of innovative methods. Now, in between, I would now stop to digress a bit and talk about entrepreneurship, for instance. Now, in my personal viewpoint, startups are there. We have many funding agencies for startups. Entrepreneurship is a course which is being taught in many colleges, higher educational institutions, and say even universities. But what I would prefer to say is that, of course, having a startup is of utmost importance. But what is more important and more pertinent in my viewpoint is establishing a mindset. An entrepreneurial mindset is to be established across the country, in the minds of the youth, in the minds of the young students, and even teachers. Now, when we talk about an entrepreneurial mindset, what does it exactly mean, especially for the students? This refers to a specific state of mind which orientates human conduct towards entrepreneurial activities and outcomes. It is a combination of opportunities, innovation, and new value creation. Now, it is an attitude. Entrepreneurial skills will not come until you are exposed to certain situations which allow decisions to be taken. That is, immediate decisions have to be taken based on incomplete information, say with teams that may or may not be efficient, with uncertainty and risky outcomes. Now, where would the students learn all this? I think it is in the higher educational institutions itself, where such an entrepreneurial mindset has to be developed. And much before that, it has to be developed at the school level, where the mindset creation is in a tender age more important. The mindset is created there. Now, in that respect, I was talking to the director of the Atal Innovation Mission. They have more than 5,000 plus Atal tinkering labs in schools in the country and many Atal incubation centers across the higher educational institutions in the country itself. Now, what is going to happen is these labs in the school level will help the students to have a holistic practical viewpoints to every curriculum they study in the classroom. What is the application part of it? They would start learning from the school level. Now the NEP talks about giving say internship even in class 6 onward. Now the students would go to the real world and do internship. This is what China had done. Right from standard 6, China had sent students for practical internship for coding. And we see where the say, software and the hardware content of the country has grown to. So therefore, entrepreneurial mindset creation is very important. And in order to create an entrepreneurial mindset, we must understand what innovation is. Innovation, in fact, is the application of better solutions that must meet the new requirements and the unarticulated needs or existing market needs. We have to do something new or in a better way. This is what innovation means. And this is exactly what the say new education policy describes. It empowers the faculty of the higher educational institutions to conduct innovative teaching, research, and service as they see the best. There is a freedom of movement to the faculty member. There is a freedom to devise curricula and say compress the curricula just to the basics, so that application part may be more directly looked into, and moreover the pedagogy and assessment has to be with a broad framework in terms of qualifications, in terms of innovations, in terms of creativity. Now, when we talk about a country's identity, how is it established? Say by the upliftment of the spiritual or the intellectual satisfaction. Creativity. So creativity is to be attained in a major way through its history, art, language, culture. Sometimes we have forgotten what our culture was. Sometimes we tend just to adopt the means of what path is to be laid down by other countries. Now, therefore, innovations in the sciences, social sciences, are extremely important for the progress and enlightenment, say, nature of a nation. Such a policy would definitely develop the empathy part in all the citizens of the country. Now, when we talk about empathy, didn't we all see that even the most stubborn of the people
Yes, sir.
were so empathetic during the COVID-19 period that we helped the have-nots. We helped the migrant laborers, especially in North India. The migrant laborers problem was so intense that almost many citizens and many NGOs and many people came forward to help them. So we see that the basic quality in each individual in our country is to be empathetic. So how will we develop that? Now, earlier we used to see that right from school education, when a student would go to the higher education and then say pursue a career in the corporate world, he or she used to climb the corporate ladder. That means with a specific skill set, he or she would be able to pursue his or her career. Now things have changed. In my opinion, the corporate ladder has now become a corporate maze. That means no one specific skill is going to help you in sustainability in a corporate world or in your own startup. We have had to have a variety of skill sets and upgrade and update ourselves continuously. So, in order to maneuver the corporate maze, these skill sets have to be continuously updated. Upskilling is the call of the day, not only for the students, but for us faculty members as well. Now, let's talk about emotional intelligence. It is said that the intelligence quotient helps any individual to get a job. But that is only 20% of the part. 80% Sustainability in a job depends on your emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence? It is the ability to understand and use and manage your own emotions in positive ways and understand the emotions of others to relieve stress, to communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, maybe diffuse conflict. So there are five components. We in the national education policy have always been talking about, say, giving, say, a space for learning, giving a space for teaching. Things are going to change. Now, what are the five tenets of emotional intelligence I was talking about? They are, first is self-awareness. We must be aware of ourselves. Self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, the 21st century skills of, say, collaboration, creativity, empathy, all these things have to be given to the students for holistic development. This is what National Education Policy 2020 talks about. It is going to be a sudden turnaround, which is not going to be easy for anyone. That I can be say sure of. But we have to understand that each student and each faculty member, each citizen of the country must so that the students can get say the best of the teachers in that cluster instead of just having a good mathematics teacher in the school or a good physics teacher in some other school. So these are the things which the national education policy has taken up upon the mantle upon itself. Now, when we talk about, the recent pandemic, for example, it has highlighted the need for alternative modes of quality education. How? It recognizes both the advantages and disadvantages of technology. This is here, this is a point which most of us miss. We always talk about technology and its advantages and the changes and the disruption which technology has brought. For online or digital education, it is very important to eliminate the digital divide. We find that in the rural areas, even we have experienced Because at Pratap University, Jaipur, we have a mix of students. We have more than about 200 plus international students. We have students from the local areas, from Rajasthan, from say other states of North India and West India, and some very weak students from the rural areas. Now, those students who are staying in states of Bihar, for example, or Eastern Uttar Pradesh, they don't have access to proper internet. If they have, they don't have access to proper internet speed. Now, this digital divide has to be bridged if we want to take upon the best fruits of technology. Now, the government is now, say, laying down the 5G technology, 4G technology is already here. So, slowly, gradually, once this digital divide is, say, bridged, then only we can think that the national education policy is going to bear those results which we expect from it. So, it is not only a matter of technology, it is a matter of how technology is to be upgraded in the times to come. Now, we all know that it is online classes which are going on at present, but we have to believe that blended learning or a hybrid teaching methodology has to be adopted once the students come back to the classes. In some areas, they have already done so. So a mix of online teaching, a mix of classroom teaching has to be adopted, and that is something which is going to happen once the say new normals set in. Now, when we talk about say the current students, we see that the rules of the job places have changed, the work profile has changed, say in the past 5 years or 4 years, and more during the pandemic. It also means that the students can rewrite the rules. How? The current students, it is said, will not be in the jobs which exist right now. That means alpha, say generation Z and generation alpha. According to a Deloitte Dell Technologies report, it says that 85% of those students are going to do jobs that have not been decided upon as yet. So how will those jobs be decided? Those jobs will be decided sometimes by the skill sets which are being going to be offered to the students, and new job profiles will be created in the years to come. This is something which is going to happen, and believe me, it is. I have been in more than about 100 and 120 webinars in which people of the highest order have been there, and I have been undergoing a great learning in those webinars where the ICT say director, where say people from the UGC, people from various other bodies, the ICT, say AIU have been there. So they have all been talking about all these aspects. Now, what does an entrepreneur to become an entrepreneur needs? What are the basic things? We have to be self-starters. We have to be self-managers. Now, once we have to be self-starters and self-managers, how are we going to become one? Is it said that many times entrepreneurs are born, sometimes it is said entrepreneurs are made. I personally believe that it is going to be a combination of both. You must have some basic tenets within you when you start becoming, having an entrepreneurial mindset, because you know all students are not going to become, create the next Google or create the next Pixar or the Lyft. Some students will be engineers, artists, accountants. So follow the passion. This country is not what it was 40 years before. Like at Pratap University, for example, we pay so much attention to curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, and even sports. We want the holistic development of the students. So, since I think I might be transgressing the time limit, I would just like to quote for 5 minutes uh, what our Honorable Prime Minister had posted on a LinkedIn post of his, say about a few months back. He talked about the 5 vowels of a new normal. As the 5 vowels are very important for the English language, and this is in the context of the new education policy, I'll tell you how. So these 5 vowels are as important for, say, the establishment of the new normal. Once the new normals are established, how are we going to be? Now, with A, E, I, O, U, A is adaptability. The need of the hour now is to think of business and lifestyle models that are easily adaptable. Now, citing digital payments as an example of adaptability, the PM had said shop owners, big and small, should take advantage of digital tools, for example, to keep commerce connected. For example, we are not able to visit the hospitals and doctors, so telemedicine becomes very important. This is how we have to adapt ourselves to technology. Second is efficiency. Efficiency, Prime Minister Modi touched upon the topic that many all over the world are already contemplating. Efficiency should not be just about the number of hours one puts in a day. It should be about the productivity. That means spending 10 hours in a day in an office is not going to change the landscape of the country. It is the measured productivity which is going to do so. The third is AEI. I is inclusivity. That means he touched upon a topic that business models will focus on the care of the vulnerable sections of the society as well. Now, the pandemic has highlighted the need for low cost and large scale health care. That means innovations. So, innovations should reach even the farmers. They should have access to information, machinery, and even markets. This is how inclusivity is to be. And that is why people may be for or against, but the farm bill which has come was intended because of that. Then we have AEIO opportunity. That means rather than playing catch up, India must be ahead of the curve in the post-COVID-19 world. He said, the PM said that our people, our skill sets, our core capabilities can be used in doing so. Then we have opportunity. That is, the opportunity must be how we develop the skill sets of the people in the country, the general public, even the small vendors. They must have been given proper vocational skills. Last is universalism. That means the pandemic, as we see, did not see any race, religion, color, caste, creed, language, or even borders before striking. So, our response should be to come to a unified brotherhood, and we must think of the world as a say of our own. The मतलब हमारा कहने का मतलब ये है कि type in Hindi a bit, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. That is what he emphasized upon. So, in my opinion, I feel that the new education policy is very inclusive in nature. It is going to change the landscape of the not only the education sector but everything in the country in the times to come. But with a word of caution, it has to be implemented properly. The implementation part is very crucial, and as I said, all the stakeholders, whether it is the educators, whether it is the students, whether it is industry, whether it is the government, they all have to work very hard towards implementing this education policy once it commences to be implemented in a big way. Thank you so much. I hope I have not transgressed my time limit.
You have 20 more minutes, sir. We would like to listen more and more because 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 educational policy is there, na,
Okay.
sir?
But in fact, wrote on the say chat point that last 10 minutes is to be for interaction and question and answers. Therefore, I have just closed my. Okay. Anyway.
Okay, sir. One query was there. Let me see. Sadiq Ahmad.
Okay.
Sir, will the UGC FIP improvement faculty improvement program for doing PhD for in-service faculty working in government degree colleges and universities be continued? If yes, when can we expect the notification?
As I have just said, it's a very good question which has been asked. The NEP 2020 itself talks about training of teachers. Now, we all know that the NEP, as our education minister also, Dr. Nishank had once talked about in one of the webinars in which I was present. He said the utmost important is training of teachers. So that part is going to come very soon. And I think all the teachers, especially in government colleges or even private colleges, would be giving an opportunity of getting upgraded and updated in terms of training not only on technology but training on all aspects of teaching. It is going to come very soon. This is what the Honorable Education Minister had said.
One more question from my side, sir. So we would like to know about 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 curriculum structure is there, na, sir?
Yeah, it is there.
Could you please more elaborate how it will be good for our engineering students?
Why not? You know, basically, as I said before, whether we are engineering students or students of any other stream, we come from a school. When we come from a school, if we have proper skill sets inculcated and embedded within us, then when we move on to an engineering college or to any other college of say institution of higher education, we must have those skill sets so that we don't falter when this change occurs. We have seen that students tend to falter in that change process from a school to a college. That initial first semester or part is sometimes very difficult for them to accept initially. So many other trainings have to be given to them. Like for example, language. And
Yes,
for
sir.
example, those basic skills which the students possess, they don't, they are so immature initially. Now, when we have a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 curricular structure, as I had said, this will bring the uncovered age group of 3 to 6 years under the school curriculum. That means those students who are not going to the school would now come to the school, and this has been recognized globally as a very crucial stage for the mental development of a child. As So once we have such young children in the school, sooner or later, when the student reaches say class 6 for example, I have said that they would go in for internships. Have we ever heard of a class 6 student earlier going for an internship? No, we have not. And these internships would be done in the practical world, in the area around. Maybe I'll tell you, for example, if there is a student who is desirous of pursuing engineering in future, he or she can go and do an internship in a, say, car mechanic's garage and understand the basic problems which are there. So initially from school, Atal Tinkering Lab, I have talked about, ma'am. This is a lab in which such skills are given in a practical setup. So these are the things which would help the school students to develop into a better student when they come to the higher education institution. This is what my viewpoint is, ma'am.
One more question, sir. UGC has stopped giving minor and major projects for the last 4 years approximately. Will these programs be resumed? By Ahmad.
Yeah. No, let me tell you one thing. If minor and major projects are not being given by UGC in the past few months, why not we are doing it ourselves? Why are not the education institutions doing it by themselves? So even we can find out times, like for instance, there are many institutions which are having minor and major projects, as I said, going into the industry or going into the service industry or even production industry. So these are our own outlook, and the national education policy, once it is implemented, I think UGC will have to start with these projects. Because without practical applications, I don't think we can give the skill sets which we need to give to the students. Projects have to be given, and projects should be done with honesty. I tell you one thing, I have seen many internship projects having been done just by spending a few days in a particular industry and getting just a say certificate for that. Please don't do it. Go ahead and think about how you are going to acquire the best skill sets in that particular industry. So I would exhort the students to please be honest in their essay profile. If you are a student, you have some responsibilities and accountability not only towards your teachers and the institution, but towards your parents also. I would like to say one small term they always use, ma'am. Can a student, when he prepares his resume, delete the name of the parents or change the name of the parents? No.
No.
Can a student change the name of the institution from which he or she has passed? No. If you can't do that, then why not live up to the expectation of your parents and the institution and your teachers and be honest towards yourself? This is my statement towards to all the students. Please be honest towards yourself.
Yeah, yes, sir.
My
Relating to this point only, as a faculty, I want to just ask a question, sir. This point which you have mentioned, that is all about a sense of inclusiveness, sir.
Yeah.
How to inculcate this sense of inclusiveness, especially in the engineering students, sir? Because that point is lagging, and I want the answer because for the previous point which you have quoted, I think this is relevant, sir. So that is inclusiveness. I feel that they should have that sense of inclusiveness.
Yeah, I've just put what the Honorable PM had said about inclusivity, that means every individual should be brought to one fold. And when we talk about inclusivity in the educational institutions, I'll give a small example. Earlier, I was Vice Chancellor of another university, and I talked about sharing of resources. That means sharing the strengths of each institution, especially during the pandemic. Initially, people were resistant to change, especially private institutions don't usually want to share resources. But then I was the first teacher as a vice chancellor to go and teach the students of other institutions in a class of management, in a particular subject. When this happened, all started coming together. So initially, to bring about inclusivity either individually within a student, he or she has to put all the resources together. The concept of Guru Shishya Parampara, which was there in Asian culture, has been modified to some extent by words like mentorship, by words like teacher student guardian. But then the thought process should be the same. That means the changing perspective of the students towards the teachers should not be that they are simply whiteboard marker teachers and they would be leaving in the evening and I would nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Consider
Correct, sir.
and in turn, the teachers should also consider their child to be a mentor, to be a mentee. That means the 45-minute or 1 hour class should not be the end of things.
Yeah.
COVID-19 is that teachers have done so well. Let me tell you, whether it is school or whether it is colleges or higher education institutions, I have personally seen that teachers have solved the problems of students even till 10 in the night.
Yeah.
Who are suffering from say, aspects of mental wellness. They have mentored, they have counseled students. So all these things have happened. In fact, apart from, of course, the frontline workers, the police, the say hospital doctors, nurses, everyone has been a corona warrior. But I personally feel, ma'am, that our teachers have proved to be warriors in themselves.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Inclusive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Last query, I think so. Siddhartha, are there any queries in YouTube link? Sir, we have provided a live YouTube link also because Meet accepts only 250 members at max.
Okay.
Hello.
Sir, one more query, sir. Harsha?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, sir. Abhay, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Harsha from Advisely.
Okay.
Yeah, sir. I have this question. I mean, we have multiple entries and multiple exits into this that was rightly framed in NEP, which I strongly believe is a necessity. But how do you control that? I mean, are there any new regulations? Is something being taught? I mean, discussed among thought leaders, and how do you really, put that in practice with students? Considering that currently students are not completely aware of where to stop and when to start.
Yeah, Harsha, that's a wonderful question, and it's nice meeting you on this platform today.
Hello. How are you, sir?
I'm fine being an alumni of the institution where I've been given the opportunity to speak today. So, Harsha, let me tell you, I have already said that the basic points which they enunciated by the National Education Policy 2020 is wonderful. As you've said, the multiple entry and exit points would help the students who would wish, due to some reasons or some problems, to leave their undergrad course, say after a year or two, to come back and do it. This is very prevalent in the West.
Yeah.
Not only multiple entry exit points, they would also be able to choose another subject of study which they are not in. For example, an engineering student would not be supposed to take a music class or say any other class as part of the curriculum in the present days. In the United States, an engineering student can become a doctor in a few years' time. So the point is that the basic initiated points are wonderful in the national education policy, but I have already said the threads of implementation are yet to be decided upon, and when the proper implementation by the center as well as the states is going to commence in a big way, it is not only the government of the central government or the state government who are going to be able to do that. That is why I have already said that teachers would have to do very hard work in changing their own mindset and the mindset of the teachers themselves. Once student mindsets have to be changed. So things are going to happen, but we have now to understand that this NEP 2020 is basically very good when
Yes,
it
yes.
comes to having the enunciations, but how implementation is to be done is yet to be seen.
Yeah.
I think Harsha, that answers your question.
Definitely, sir. I mean, it's more progressive. Let's say it's like we are trying to walk against the tide. I mean, the system that is already established. But
Yeah.
then, with time, when challenges come up, probably, the new innovations within learning might as well come. But yes, NEP, as you mentioned, is a good start for the bright future in education. I think it has lot to provide, and challenges are always there when such innovations and such initiatives come up. But yeah, we have great thought leaders like you steering the wheel, so I'm sure like there'll be great solutions coming forward as well.
Thank you so much, Harsha. Thank you so much. If in the end, you would allow me to give a small example of a research study which was done as it was a 70 long famous undergraduate study at Harvard. The 268 undergraduate males were put under the study, and they were studied from every aspect. Just imagine 75 long years, and matlab means ki some of them may have passed away, and new people might come in. From every aspect they were studied. That means ranging from lifestyle to political views. And what were the findings of the committee? In the end, it was one line finding basically. I think into say hundreds of pages of report, but the basic crux of the finding was relationship is the only thing that matters. I would just tell the students, be honest in your relationships, whether it is with the parents, your brethren, your teachers. The teacher should be honest to the students. Honesty in relationship is what is going to catapult India on a new growth trajectory. Let's be honest towards ourselves, towards every stakeholder in the society. This is my say punchline, which I think I would love to give to the students especially.
I would like to thank
Yeah. Over to you, ma'am. Over to you. Thank you.
Harsha. Thank you so much, Harsha. Because of you, we have connected with a good resource person. Thank you so much, and we are proud that you are our alumni.
Yeah.
One more question is there in the chat box, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Will the proposal to teach in the mother tongue up to 5th standard affect the existing English medium schools? This question by Fani Kumar, our H&S faculty, TKREC.
Just to tell you, teaching in a mother tongue up to class 5th is going to help the people from the rural areas and the regional areas who would not otherwise have been able to adapt to an English curriculum. But it is not to say that most can teach in English. That is not to be there. It is simply to say that the mother tongue would be introduced. Introduction of mother tongue doesn't mean that English has to be negated from the teaching process. So it is not exactly what we have tried to understand from the NEP. NEP says that mother tongue will be introduced, but English teaching would be stopped. There is nothing regarding that. So maybe in many areas people understand English better than their own mother tongue. So teach them in English, no problems. Maybe has been accepted.
No, pretty clearly, sir. Right to the point, in fact.
Okay. Thank you.
Basically, no restrictions on medium. Learning will not be restricted through medium. Education has its own choice to pick whatever they wish. Whether it's English or local, it's the choice is always there till 5th standard is what it says. Yeah.
But if you observe that top 5 to 10 countries in the world, they'll teach in their mother tongue only because the brain mapping will be tough when we go for 2 languages. So that was a nice question by Fani Krishna sir, and that was a nice answer, sir. So I'd like to hand over the session to our student Pooja, IAC member. Could you please hand over the take session, Pooja?
Yes, ma'am. Now I would like to invite our principal, sir, Dr. K.V. Murli Mohan, sir, to share a few thoughts.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning, all of you. Yeah, good morning, Abhay, sir.
Dr. Murli Mohan.
Yeah, very good morning, sir. So very happy to see you in our session and sparing a time for us out of your busy schedule. So we are very much thankful to you, sir, for sharing your valuable words about the national new education policy. And it was happened. It could have. It is happened because of our alumni, Mr. Harsha. So first of all, we have to thank Harsha for giving our nice contact. Dr. Abhay Kumar sir, sharing his valuable words. Thank you, sir, once again. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you, organizers, for making this wonderful event. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Pooja, now we have come to a end of the session. And sir, from our college, we would like to be in touch with you in future things if anything is necessary from our college. We would love to learn from you.
It would be my, as a proud privilege to be associated with the college. You things like Harsha. So the college speaks about the quality and the system which you must have developed. So your alumni speak about your college. So right now I can say with
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your
thank you so much.
acceptance.
Thank you, sir. Pooja, would you please follow up?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, it was a very informative session and also our immense pleasure that we got to know about national educational policy. Also, we would like to mold our career more and more into entrepreneurship, startups, and would be more than happy to keep learning from you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable time and ideas. Also, I would like to thank our dynamic principal, sir, Dr. K.V. Murli Mohan, sir. Always student-centric Vice Principal, sir, Dr. K.M.V. Madan Kumar, sir. All HODs who always supports us. Also, a very special thanks to Dr. Padmaja Pulicharla, ma'am, for always encouraging us. Now, last but not the least, I would like to thank all IIC members and participants for making this session possible. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Sarangan sir, please stop recording. Sarangan.